Okay, so you want to own a Jordan Brand franchise store. A clean, minimalist showroom of polished concrete and matte black steel, glass cases housing rare retro releases, lines of eager hypebeasts stretching around the block on Saturday mornings, and the iconic Jumpman logo glowing on your storefront. You wake up on release day, look at the crowd waiting in the cold, and watch your investment grow. That is the picture. That is what social media feeds sell you. That is what sneaker conventions make you feel. Here is what the hype doesn't show you. The $80,000 inventory invoice you must pay before the shoes ship. The corporate markdown policy that forces you to sell mid-tier releases at a 40% loss. The allocation algorithm that restricts your access to high-demand retros because your volume is too low. And the fact that you haven't taken a single dollar of profit home this quarter because your operational capital is locked in slow-moving apparel stock. Sneaker retail is one of the most misunderstood business models in franchising. On the outside, it looks like culture. On the inside, it looks like a high-risk commodity game. By the end of this, you'll understand why. Before we talk about money, we need to talk about what a Jordan operation actually is. Because a sneaker store is one of those concepts that gets used to describe completely different business structures. A Tier 1 boutique receives rare collaboration models. A licensed franchise store carries high-volume team models. A consignment shop sells secondary market assets. These are not the same business. They share a brand, but have almost nothing in common financially. The largest single cost of entering this market is the real estate itself. To secure the premium foot traffic required by Nike's corporate standards, you need a high-visibility location. According to commercial real estate retail data, premium mall space averages $55 to $150 per square foot per year. To run a standard 3,000 square foot showroom, you are looking at $165,000 to $450,000 in annual rent alone. The build-out costs are not optional. Nike mandates specific lighting, flooring, and display systems. A custom glass display case runs $4,000 to $8,000. Upgrading the store security systems with advanced cameras and reinforced stockrooms to prevent high-value inventory theft costs between $25,000 and $60,000. You easily spend $300,000 on infrastructure before your first customer walks in the door. The cheap options do not exist. If you lease in a low-traffic suburban strip mall at $18 per square foot to save cash, the brand's distribution algorithm will categorize your store as a low-tier account. They will not send you the profitable retro Jordan 1s or 4s. They will send you basic Jordan Max Aura Team shoes that sit on shelves for months. The expensive location is a tax you pay just to have the right products to sell. You can spend $600,000 on a raw property before the store is even operational. Now you buy the inventory. This is where the structural trap of sneaker retail becomes dangerous. Your inventory is an asset that loses value the longer it sits on the shelf. A single pair of retro Jordans has a wholesale cost of $105 to $120, retailing for $180 to $210. That looks like a clean 40% margin. But under the corporate franchise agreement, you cannot simply buy the hot sellers. Nike requires you to purchase product packages. For every 50 pairs of high-margin Jordan 4 retros allocated to your store, you must purchase 100 pairs of low-margin apparel, socks, and non-retro lifestyle sneakers. A standard initial inventory order for a 200-foot shelf space store costs roughly $250,000 to assemble. These are not all highly sought-after collector pieces. More than 60% of that order consists of commercial filler. Here is the thing about sneaker inventory. It suffers from severe seasonal decay. If a style does not sell within 45 days, its retail value drops. You cannot return unsold stock to the manufacturer. The monthly debt service on financed inventory at current interest rates can easily run $4,000 per month. On a mid-sized operation, that alone eats your operating margin. The operating costs are relentless. Revenue arrives in spikes on release Saturdays, but expenses arrive daily. Rent, utilities, insurance, and payroll do not wait for the next shoe drop. According to retail economic surveys, the estimated annual operating cost for an independent sneaker franchise is $280,000. That includes a store manager, 3 retail hands, and a security guard for release days. Finding reliable retail help has become increasingly difficult, and the administrative costs of managing release day crowd safety add significant overhead. The operating cost of a serious storefront is not a passive investment. The revenue model must work. A store with a monthly operational cost of $35,000, charging a standard retail markup, needs to sell approximately 1,600 pairs of mid-tier shoes monthly just to break even. Below that number, you lose money. Above it, the profit on excess pairs is thin. In a strong market, you might generate $1,200,000 in gross revenue. Against that, your inventory costs run $720,000. Operating costs, rent, labor, marketing, and utilities take another $380,000. The net profit on operations sits around $100,000 on an initial capital deployment of $850,000. That is a return on investment of 11.7%, which looks acceptable until a market shift occurs. Now, here is where it gets dangerous. Those revenue numbers assume a 90% sell-through rate of allocated inventory at full retail price. That is not guaranteed. As of recent market data, consumer discretionary spending on premium footwear has experienced high volatility. When the market softens, what happens to your economics is instant. The shoes sit on shelves past the 45-day window. To clear space for the next month's mandatory allocation, you must run markdowns. Selling a $200 shoe at a 30% discount reduces your revenue to $140, while your wholesale cost remains fixed at $110. Your margin shrinks from $90 to $30. If you do not run markdowns, your stockroom overflows, your cash is locked in stale inventory, and you cannot pay the invoice for the next release. You have destroyed your purchasing capacity. The national retail inventory cycle is a recurring trap. What you make on a sold-out Jordan 11 release in December is quietly clawed back by the discounted Jordan apparel you had to buy to get those shoes. The costs are fixed, but the consumer demand is highly volatile. Let's build a realistic scenario. You buy into a mid-tier urban franchise location. You secure a 3,000 square foot space at $45 per square foot. Your rent is $135,000 annually. You put down 50% of the startup capital and finance the remaining build-out and inventory costs, resulting in a debt service of $72,000 per year. Your initial inventory cost is double-checked $250,000 for the opening stock. Your operational investment is $457,000, including the franchise license fee. First-year operating costs, including payroll, utilities, and marketing, hit $290,000. Your first-year product sales average 80% sell-through at full retail price, with the remaining 20% sold at a 35% discount. Gross retail revenue is $890,000. Net operating income before debt service is $95,000. After paying the $72,000 debt service, your actual cash return is $23,000 on a $500,000 investment. The retail operation covers only a fraction of the capital risks involved. This is why sneaker franchises operate at thin margins. The inventory is too expensive relative to the velocity of consumer demand. The difference between owners who survive and those who go bankrupt is not passion for the culture. It is cash reserves, inventory management, and the ability to negotiate markdown terms with corporate distributors. The wealthy owners do not rely solely on the retail markup of sneakers. They diversify into custom apparel printing, hosting community events, or subleasing store space to local premium brands. Which means the answer to whether a Jordan franchise can make you rich is yes, it can. But probably not in the way you imagined. The romance of the sneaker culture is real. The economics of the retail storefront are complicated. The people who survive are those who understand both.